cause divisions between the Libyan people, between East and West. He's trying to play up their fears. He basically threw everybody under the bus. Europe, the United States, the rest of the Arab world, the Africans, the BBC, AlJazeera. I mean, there wasn't anyone that he didn't blame.
In fact, he said there was a plot against Libya. The security forces will show with documentation that Arab brethren, African civilians, or some Africans have been arrested at least, but there is a major plot against Libya underway right now.
Yes, I mean, it was difficult for me personally to follow everything that he was saying. You mentioned that he said Libya is not Egypt, it's not Tunis. I lost count of how many times he said that. He also said Muammar al-Gaddafi is not, Ben Ali is not, Hosni Mubarak. He said the Libyan army is not, the Tunisian army is not the Egyptian army. He's threatening Libyans. He's trying to play up on their fears.
Right, but are those fears there? Might it not actually be quite a, might the fear of separatism, might the fear of a Libya split in two, might the fear of rising bread prices, might not be something that will strike a chord amongst those watching in Libya?
To be honest, I don't think that anybody in Libya who opposes the Gaddafi regime will buy anything that Saif said. I don't think that those are their fears. And even if there was any truth to that, I don't think that for them there's anything worse than what they've been living with for the past 41, 42 years.
But doesn't Mr. Gaddafi have a reservoir of support? It isn't necessarily Egypt or Tunisia in that sense. There are people who have done very well under Gaddafi. He has given social services to portions of the population, perhaps more in the West than the East and so forth, who again might hear this and say, hang on, stability probably is the key. Let's go through a different route.
Maybe to a minority, but I would dispute that assessment. I know that a lot of people think that, but there's a reason why anybody who is in Libya who can travel abroad for medical treatment does travel abroad for medical treatment to Europe, to Tunis, to Jordan, to the United States. He said to them, he promised them 40 years of civil war. He warned them that they would lose their hospitals, their infrastructure, their schools. They don't have hospitals, they don't have infrastructures. The schools are horrible. All these things that he warned were going to be taken away, they're already not there. I just don't think that. I mean, for me, this is sort of Gaddafi's last stand. I think there's a lot of desperation in his voice.
And we're about to bring our viewers up to date with some of what has been going on in the last few hours. And even as Saif Gaddafi was speaking, we were getting updates from Tripoli and Benghazi. But what have you been hearing just in the last few hours about what's happened?
Just in the last few hours, actually, just during the break, we were on the phone with relatives who were on the phone with a mutual cousin in Tripoli, in the center of Tripoli, in a place called Green Square, As-Sah al-Khadra, in which he said that there were a group of protesters. He's never seen this were his words. He's never seen this many people in As-Sah al-Khadra, in Green Square, in the center of Tripoli. Police came in the
Libyan capital.
In the Libyan capital, police came in, dispersed the crowd. They moved. And then the last word that we got from him was that people were headed back to Green Square. So that's what we're getting from somebody with a phone right there in the middle of it.
AlJazeera Abdurrahman, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, before Saif Gaddafi's speech, witnesses in the Libyan capital told Al Jazeera as well that there have been clashes between thousands of anti- and pro-government forces, as they were described there. That came as the protest movement appeared to be growing with the addition of one of the country's largest tribes, Wafala. More than 250 people have been reported killed in the past few days in the eastern city of Benghazi alone. And in another development, 2 Libyan officials have now resigned in protest against the government, diplomatic officials. Tom Ackerman reports.
Casualties keep mounting in Libya's major cities, where security forces have been reported firing relentlessly at anti-government demonstrators. International human rights groups say dozens of unarmed protesters have been killed, hundreds injured. This protester shot outside a government building in Benghazi. Another building was set afire, a scene described by a witness, Ahmed.
A lot of gun artillery and a lot of gunshots were heard. I cannot put you can hear it right now, but 5 minutes ago it was really loud and clear. And also on the south side, which is 3 kilometers south of the army barricade, which is the police academy, it's burning now. It's definitely burning, big black smoke coming out.
Hospitals in Benghazi reported they have run out of supplies and doctors were unable to treat all the injured. This video, which cannot be independently verified, shows the body of what protesters say is one of the foreign soldiers the government has contracted to help put down the demonstrations. Libyan state television broadcast pictures of the country's leader, Muammar Gaddafi, walking among cheering women and children on Saturday night. Some burned buildings and damage were also shown, but the government denies serious disturbances in either Benghazi or Tripoli. Yet eyewitnesses said violent clashes had broken out late Sunday in the capital's central Green Square. And talking to Al Jazeera, the head of eastern Libya's powerful Al-Zawaya tribe has threatened to cut off the country's flow of oil exports unless the government ends what he called the oppression of protesters. Tom Ackerman, Al Jazeera.
Let's have more on that development. A Libyan tribal leader then threatening to block oil exports if the regime does not, quote, stop oppression of protesters. Here's what Sheikh Faraj al-Zuway told Al Jazeera just a little earlier.
From the south to the north, east and west, all tribes are united. We're not pressuring any tribe or any person. We see that the priority is to put an end to the bloodshed. We ask this of Muammar al-Gaddafi, Europe and the United States. Otherwise, we will be forced to stop oil production tomorrow.
Well, that was a tribal leader. Now we can talk to a protester who's in Tripoli. We're not going to reveal his identity. Thank you very much for joining us. Please tell us what is happening.
Yeah, well, now we just came back to listen to the speech, but we just heard news that it's up and running again, where the people are going back to the Green Square. And I think what I've heard right now, we've got the Green Square. All the pro people have left, and hopefully, I mean, today, tomorrow, we'll be free. I mean, now he's saying that, you know, he's gonna, tomorrow we're gonna have a new, they're gonna meet with the heads of states and all that thing. They're gonna meet and they're gonna discuss the democracy. But actual life, we're taking the Green Square, the center of Tripoli is now for the protesters. And nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. You know, it's over. It's close to being over. They're gonna come back and fight for it again, but for some reason.
So just to make that clear, I'm not sure I completely understood, but protesters are leaving the square to return tomorrow, or are they still gathered in Green Square?
The Green Square now belongs to the protesters.
Right.
The pro-Gaddafi people have run away. They have taken, they've just gone. It belongs to the protesters.
Presumably...
For the last 2 days, they've occupied it. Today we've got it back. Just got it back now.
And have there been any further clashes? We had heard earlier there were reports there of further... we had heard earlier reports of further attacks on the protesters. Are those still continuing? Did they occur?
I was personally attacked. We got to the Green Square. We were meters away from the Green Square. We were winning it. There was all these children. He's got children throwing rocks at us. And then once we were going to win it, they attacked us with guns. There were snipers on the roof, but I didn't see if they hit anyone. The guns were following us. We all ran away. People in the street, old women were helping them. They were taking people in. They chased them. One man died in front of us. We see he was shot down. Everyone, it was chaos. It was chaos. He's doing this to his own people.
And was this the military? We're describing that at the moment as supporters of President Gaddafi, but was it the military, the security forces who were